musicians. I've received a few comments asking to help with modulations, and not just your typical half-step modulation, but something different. One comment in particular asked for a whole step modulation, and so that's what this video is. I'm going to demonstrate, but these principles apply to any type of modulation. All right, so let's get started. All right, so this first modulation is simply the common way to do it, which is we're going to precede the new key by its fifth. So let's do the key of C, and we're going to modulate to the key of D. Okay? So starting in C and D, and I'm going to play a progression in C. The progression is going to go C over E, F, and then C over G, and maybe I'll resolve it to G. So that'll be kind of the template progression that we'll use. All right. So I'm in the key of C and I'm trying to go to D. And so the dominant chord, this is the classic way we do it. The 5 of the new key we're going to. So D, what's its fifth? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the fifth of D is A. So I'm going to play A7. So I'll use our template progression again. Here we go. Here's that 5. Hear it? All right, one more time. All right, and that's kind of the classic way to do it. But what I want to do is add a few other variations to it. All right, so one variation is to precede a 5 chord by its sus. So what does sus mean? Well, I'm going to remove the third. In this case, I'm going to replace it with this 4. So instead of playing this, I'm going to play sus and then resolve. So let's hear how that sounds. Sus. I mean, that sounded pretty good to me. One more time, let me do that sus. Here we go. Here it is. That's an absolutely fantastic way to do it. Now, one way I like to think of this 5 sus to 5 is just, look at my hands here. If I take off the root, it looks like 2. So I like to think of 2 and 5, so 2 to the 5 and 5 sus. It's basically the same thing, just changing the root of the chord. So we could do this same change again, but instead of doing 5 sus to 5, we can do 2 to 5. So let's try that. So let's have a little fun. Let me show you a couple other variations that you might not consider. So I'm taking what we've done so far, I'm just adding to it. Okay, so let's take that sus, the sus to A, sus to A that we did, and let's lead into that by its 5. Well, so what's the 5 of A? It'll be E7. So I'm gonna play E dominant of some sort, some color. I don't know what color I'm gonna play. Some color, but it's gonna be an E7. That's gonna lead me into this A sus to A. Let's give that a try. Here we go. Woo! Woo! Let's go back. Let's do it again. Ready, go. Well, here it is. right, that was beautiful. I love that. Let me show you one more variation. Let's just do one more. I'm having fun here. And now we'll stick with the same example, but instead of proceeding it by its 5, let's do the tritone sub. So E7, the tritone sub is B flat. It's a tritone away, so we're gonna play instead of E7, B flat 7. All right. So let's see if this can work. Here's that tritone sub coming up. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Woo! So you can see, yeah, that works. That really works. All right, here's a second way. The direct route. Direct just meaning going straight to the new key without any preparation. And this is most often done in a lot of your kind of pop, sometimes R&B style music. This kind of change, but let's hear how it sounds. Here we go. So you just go straight to the new key without any preparation. That's a really, really nice technique. A kind of classic modulation. The third modulation type I want to talk about is common chord modulation, or sometimes called a pivot chord modulation. And this is where we find a chord that's common to both keys and use that as our pivoting source. So we're doing the keys of C and D. So if we look at the key of C, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished. And the key of D, we have D major, E minor, F sharp minor, G major, A major, B minor, C sharp diminished. And so you notice there is some overlap. We have E minor, that's part of both of them, and G major that are part of both of them. That is part of both of them. So we have two chords that are common to each key, E minor and G major. And so we can use either one of these chords as kind of a pivot to pivot from one key to the next to use as our pivot chord. So let's see if we can make this happen. Let's hear how this sounds using our template song that we've been using. And we're going to use G as our pivot chord. Let's use G. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's G. That was really, really interesting. Let's try it one more time. G. All right, so that's a really, really interesting key change. Just a side note, there is one song that uses that key change that I know popular in gospel music, actually. It's a song by Ty Tribbett called Savior. So give that song a listen, because that one uses this kind of key change and the vocals are doing this particular key change. It sounds really, really interesting. Number 4. So similar to the common chord modulation, I want to do a common tone modulation. And so what I'm going to do is find two notes that are common to both keys of C and D and use that note as my pivot note. So we have the C major scale and the D major scale. Well, let's share a lot of notes in common, actually. And these notes actually make up the G major pentatonic scale, which is interesting. I'll choose one note. Let's just choose D. Let's just choose D. So here we go. Let's try it. Here comes coming in. All right, did you hear it? Let me do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. You hear how I use that D? All right, so did you hear how I was able to use that D as kind of like as a pivot tone? I really started emphasizing that D, and I was able to shift keys almost seamlessly. The fifth one is parallel modulation. Now, this is a really, really interesting one. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my initial template song, my 3 or 4 chord song, whatever it was, and then I'm going to play a series of chords that are going to move in a parallel motion. What does that mean? Is that every note moves the exact same interval. So I'm going to move them parallel, going up, and then I'm going to get to the new key. So this is going to be interesting. And let's see. And so I'm going to use, let's see, a quartal. Let's do this. And I'll just go up in half steps. This would be the shape I use. Yeah. Yeah, that one is really, really interesting. Let's do it again. Here we go. That is really, 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 really cool. And tell you what, let's do one more variation of that. Let's do one of my other favorite chords is the So What chord, coming from Bill Evans on the song So What. And he used a particular chord, this progression. So it's 4ths, but then the 3rd on top. Let's do that one. So let's try it in our song. Here we go. Woo! Wow, those were some interesting modulations. So take those and run with those. Now, if you're interested in other interesting musical concepts, click on this video right here. Until the next one, be blessed and happy practicing.